3 Nigerian men were indicted for committing sexual extortion against young men and teens in the Western District of Michigan and across the United States.
Tracked U.S. sextortion cases to 22 Nigerian suspects. The FBI reports that about half of them are linked to more than 20 U.S. victims who have committed suicide as a result of sextortion.
These greedy scammers are slicker than ever. To better hide their tracks, they've spread from Nigeria to become a global pandemic.
While Nigeria has been blessed with some talented people that has made the country proud, others have used their talents for bad and disgraced the nation in the name of fraud. They stole money but paid for their crimes. And in this video, we will be looking at some Nigerian fraudsters caught and jailed in the UK and US. At number 12, we have the Ogoshi brothers, Samuel and Samson. Ogoshi, 2 Lagos-born brothers. Samuel around 23 now. Samson, 20, grew up in a city that's basically the epicenter of West African cybercrime culture. The Ogoshi brothers got deep into that scene early, learning social engineering tricks and money laundering hacks in their teens. By 2021, they had a full-on sextortion operation running. Their method was twisted. They created fake Instagram and Snapchat accounts posing as attractive young ladies. They didn't even make up all the pictures themselves. They bought stolen accounts from dark web markets. Then they scouted young ladies, mostly in the US, picking up on interests and insecurities from public social media profiles. Once they had the victim's trust, they escalated to asking for explicit images. And it didn't stop there. They'd superimpose those images onto family and friends' photos, creating terrifying collages that became the ultimate leverage for blackmail. Threats were sent via apps like Cash App and Venmo, starting small but escalating if victims resisted. The brothers laundered the money through US-based mules who'd send it back to Nigeria in crypto. They pulled in over $100,000 before it came crashing down. In March 2022, 17-year-old Jordan DeMay from Michigan took his life after being blackmailed. The FBI and U.S. Attorney's Office traced IP addresses and money trails back to the brothers. After a lengthy investigation, they were arrested in Lagos in August 2023 and extradited to the U.S. By September 2024, they were sentenced to 17.5 years each, plus supervised release and restitution to DeMay's family. Next up, at number 11, we have Yomi Olayeye, aka Sabi. He was another Lagos-born fraudster, around 40, who specialized in exploiting the COVID-19 pandemic chaos. His game was identity theft mixed with unemployment fraud. When millions of Americans were suddenly jobless in 2020, he saw an opportunity. He and co-conspirators bought stolen personal info for mere dollars and filed bogus unemployment claims across 9 U.S. states. They recruited Americans to act as mules to cash out, forwarding money via apps like Zelle or Cash App. The funds would ultimately land in Nigerian accounts and be converted into Bitcoin to avoid detection. He netted over $1.5 million before authorities got him. He later pleaded guilty to wire fraud and identity theft, with a potential 10 to 15 years behind bars and full restitution to victims. At number 10, we have Olayeye Sunmola. Sunmola took a different angle. Classic romance scams. He mastered the art of charming lonely American women online, stealing images of men and posing as Prince Charming figures. Between 2007 to 2014, he conned victims out of tens of thousands per person, sometimes demanding fees for kidnapped relatives or fake gold shipments. He laundered cash through South African banks, bought flashy cars, and lived in luxury. Authorities finally caught him in London in 2014, extradited him to the US, and after tearful victim testimonies, he pleaded guilty. By 2017, he was sentenced to 27 years plus $3 million in restitution. At number 9, we have Onomen Uduebor, also known by his full name Onomen Onohi. He was an upcoming musician who wanted to break into the music scene, but reality hit hard. He didn't have the connections, the cash, or the platform to make it happen. So somewhere along the line, he chose a shortcut: fraud. Around 2016, he got tangled up with these W-2 phishing rings. They targeted US businesses with emails that looked official. They'd impersonate CEOs or HR heads, trick other employees into sending sensitive info, and it gave them a lot of personal data. With that data, names, social security numbers, and addresses, they started filing fake tax returns on IRS portals. The scheme was wild. They e-filed over 150 fraudulent 1040s, claiming more than $1 million in refunds. Onomen himself pocketed about $10,000 from a $140,000 net haul. He managed to keep a low profile for a few years, but the U.S. authorities weren't sleeping. The Western District of Washington put together an indictment in 2019, which stayed under wraps until 2025. Charges included conspiracy to commit wire fraud itself, and aggravated identity theft. Uduebor was eventually arrested in London in September 2023 while he was DJing at a gig, living this double life, music and crime. He fought extradition hard, but after a long battle, he was sent back to the U.S. in March 2025. He was arraigned that same March, and by April, he pleaded guilty and was sentenced to 40 months in federal prison, plus an extra 2-year mandatory sentence for identity theft, 3 years of supervised release, a $10,000 forfeiture, and ordered to pay $122,720 in restitution to the IRS. He also faces deportation. At number 8, we have Abraham Alade Oloratimi Onifade. At 41, he was a Nigerian immigrant living in the UK. He'd been in the UK since the early 2000s, doing all sorts of low-wage work, but he spotted a different opportunity during the Brexit chaos. Instead of following the rules, he exploited them. Onifade ran a sham marriage operation, forging documents for Nigerians trying to claim EUSS residency illegally. From March 2019 to May 2023, his gang gave out over 2,000 fake Nigerian customary marriage certificates, passports, and affidavits. The service cost clients between £500 to £2,000, and for each forged EU spouse tie, people could stay in the UK legally, or at least look like they could. They were operating out of Manchester flats, with Photoshop and even corrupt registrars on their side. They submitted everything via official UKVI portals, making it harder to trace. The Home Office teamed up with Lagos authorities and raided his operation in 2023, seizing mountains of forgeries. At Woolwich Crown Court, Onifade was convicted in July 2024 of conspiracy to facilitate illegal entry and provide fraudulent articles. On August 27, 2024, he got 6 years in prison, plus a concurrent 3-year sentence for fraud alongside his co-conspirators. At number 7, we have Joseph Olugbenga Oloyede. He is a naturalized U.S. citizen and also the Apetu Monarch of Ipedumodu, Nigeria, since 2010. He was royalty with a side hustle, except the hustle was straight up fraud. He ran multiple tax preparation businesses in Medina, Ohio, and had a prior immigration fraud conviction from 1991. When COVID hit, he saw another opportunity. Between April 2020 and February 2022, he and Edward Oluwasanmi filed 38 fraudulent PPP and EIDL loan applications using shell companies like Joseph Oloyede and Associates. They padded payrolls, claimed fake economic hardship, and brought in straw borrowers to legitimize the claims. Total stolen cash was around $4.2 million. They blew it on luxury homes in Ohio and investments back in Nigeria. A grand jury in northern Ohio indicted him on April 3, 2024 on 13 counts ranging from conspiracy, wire fraud, money laundering, and tax fraud. He surrendered on April 8th, and by April 24, 2025, he pleaded guilty. He had to give up his $500,000 Medina home and $96,000 in accounts. On August 26, 2025, a judge sentenced him to 56 months in prison, 3 years supervised release, and $4.4 million restitution. His co-conspirator got 27 months in July 2024. Oloyede also lost his royal standing and is facing deportation. At number 6, we have a couple, Edward Eddy and Wendy Osefos. They were living the American dream, the big house, fancy cars, media appearances, and a reality TV glow that made them look untouchable. Their net worth was roughly $1.5 million, fueled by Wendy's media gigs, Edward's legal and business ventures, and smart real estate investments. But they were facing serious debts while trying to live that lifestyle. The fraud kicked off in April 2024. After what they framed as a family getaway to Jamaica, they returned to their Potomac home and claimed it had been burglarized. According to the Osefos, thieves made off with over $450,000 worth of luxury items, designer handbags from Chanel and Gucci, pricey shoes, clothing, and all that. Their security cameras reportedly showed no unusual activity inside the home, only mundane package deliveries. So naturally, they filed claims with 3 insurance companies for $450,000 total. Their luck ran out fast. Deputies reviewed the ring footage, no break-in, and on social media posts, Wendy had been flaunting her stolen diamond band just weeks later at a Nigerian Independence Day parade in New York City. By late 2024, a grand jury had indicted them. On October 9th, 2025, the arrests happened. Deputies executed warrants at their home, and Edward faced 18 counts, 9 felonies for insurance fraud, 8 misdemeanors for conspiracy, and 1 for making false statements to police. Wendy had 16 charges, 7 felonies, 8 misdemeanors, plus the false statement charge. They await sentencing. At number 5, we have Amos Ezemma. He was a very different breed of fraudster, but no less devastating. Born in Lagos, Nigeria, he would eventually become a master of the so-called inheritance scam, targeting vulnerable seniors across the U.S. His early life is mostly unknown, but by adulthood, he had joined the ranks of what some call Yahoo boys cybercrime networks notorious for scams abroad. By his 40s, he relocated to Madrid, Spain, and ran a cross-continental operation with co-conspirators in London and Nigeria. Their scam, running roughly from 2015 to 2020, targeted over 400 elderly Americans, raking in more than $6 million collectively. One widow in Arizona lost $250,000, and another victim lost her entire life savings. The crackdown began in 2021 after the FBI received aggregated complaints, resulting in arrests in April 2022. Some of the ring members were arrested, but Ezemma himself evaded capture initially, but was eventually extradited from Nigeria to Miami in December 2023 after parole and extradition proceedings. He was arraigned, detained, and faced overwhelming evidence. On May 2, 2024, he pled guilty to conspiracy and was sentenced to 85 months in prison, followed by 3 years of supervised release. He was also ordered to pay over $6 million in restitution jointly with his co-defendants, who received sentences ranging from 82 to 128 months. At number 4, we have Adiakpan. He grew up in Port Harcourt, Nigeria. He studied business administration in school and dreamed big. In 2020, he moved to Houston, Texas, supposedly to chase entrepreneurial dreams, and founded Akama Lifestyle, a company promising luxury travel experiences. On Instagram, he was living the high life, tailored suits, expensive cars, exotic vacations. But behind the camera-ready lifestyle, things were shaky. Financially, he was in trouble. His legitimate businesses weren't making money, debts piled up, and the pressure to maintain his lifestyle was intense. By 2021, he had become part of Houston's Nigerian community, renting a flashy office in the Galleria district and attending networking events. That's when he got drawn into business email compromise, or BEC. He teamed up with Ayobami Omoneyi, a 26-year-old compatriot, and some hackers back in Nigeria. Their targets were U.S. companies in multiple states, California, Texas, New York, and the total heist came to over $5 million just that year. One high-profile hit was a California nonprofit that helps U.S. veterans, tricked into sending $1.2 million for lab equipment. The FBI's Houston Cyber Squad caught on by 2023. Omoneyi took a plea deal in 2024, cooperating and pointing to Adiakpan. A federal grand jury indicted him on June 11, 2025, on conspiracy to commit wire fraud, conspiracy to commit money laundering, and running an unlicensed money transmission business. He was arrested on June 26, 2025, at his Houston apartment with $200,000 in checks and laptops seized. He was detained without bail because of the flight risk. His trial is scheduled for early 2026, and prosecutors are seeking full forfeiture if convicted. At number 3, we have Obenwane Okiki, aka Invictus Obi. He grew up poor but pivoted to business, launching the Invictus Group in 2013. By his mid-20s, he had a big business empire from oil and gas, agriculture, telecom, real estate, and renewables in Nigeria, South Africa, and Zambia. He won many awards and was in Forbes Africa 30 Under 30, Africa's most innovative investment company in 2017, and he even spoke at the Forbes Under 30 Summit. His Invictus Foundation, which offered Igbo language scholarships, painted him as a philanthropist. Behind the accolades, though, was a darker story. Between 2015 and 2019, Okiki ran an $11 million fraud operation. Using a mix of BEC, romance scams, and corporate hacks, he and his team preyed on companies worldwide. The FBI arrested him on August 20th, 2019 in Arlington, Virginia, after a 13-month investigation. He was indicted on wire fraud and conspiracy charges, initially pleading not guilty. Okiki eventually pleaded guilty on June 18, 2020, after overwhelming evidence, and was sentenced to 10 years with $10.7 million in restitution and $1.1 million forfeiture. At number 2, we have Olalekan Jacob Ponle, aka Mr. Woodberry, or sometimes Mark Kane. Ponle grew up in a modest household, nothing fancy, definitely no trust fund to fall back on. Like a lot of kids in Lagos, he got an early taste of the hustle, and it wasn't the legit kind. Nigeria's Yahoo culture was taking off in the 2000s. He started small with Facebook and WhatsApp scams, but by his early 20s, he had leveled up big time. Around 2018 or 2019, he made the move to Dubai, a city full of expats and wealth flexing, and a place where you could hide in plain sight. There, he went full influencer mode on Instagram, racking up over 1 million followers. His feed was insane with private jets, Lamborghinis, champagne showers, models, the works. He always captioned it with motivational hustle quotes, the kind that made Nigerian youth think, this is the life I can get if I grind smart. Behind all the glitter, though, he was running some serious cybercrime. He was beefing online with other flashy fraudsters, including Hush Puppy, trading insults that only boosted his street cred while keeping his criminal empire humming. Woodberry's main gig was business email compromise, or BEC. Across 6 states, he netted $8 million and attempted to swipe $51 million. He lived the lifestyle: Rolls-Royce, Lamborghini, Mercedes, luxury watches, and posted it online to flex. Eventually, some victims got suspicious, freezing accounts and triggering FBI attention, but Dubai gave him temporary cover. It all fell apart on June 10, 2020. Dubai police, in coordination with the FBI and Interpol during Operation Fox Hunt 2, raided his apartment. They found 151 bitcoins, cars, jewelry, and all that. He was expelled from the UAE, flown to Chicago, and hit with wire fraud, money laundering, and conspiracy charges. Ponle initially pleaded not guilty, but flipped in April 2023, admitting to the wire fraud. By July 17, 2023, he was sentenced to 8 years and 3 months, ordered to pay $8.03 million in restitution, and forfeited all his luxury assets. Now he's in federal prison in the U.S. At number 1, we have Ramon Abbas. He started from a poor background. His dad was a cab driver, and his family was modest. He finished secondary school and tried some legit hustles, like selling secondhand clothes in local markets. But by his late teens, he was already deep in the Yahoo scene. He started small, emailing strangers with advanced fee scams, but his charisma and tech curiosity set him apart. By the mid-2000s, he was running romance scams, building trust over months, and bleeding victims financially. The real turning point was Dubai around 2010. At first, modest apartments, but he quickly scaled up, posing as a real estate mogul. His Instagram blew up, hitting almost 3 million followers by 2020. He was living the life and even became a global ambassador for Gucci. By his mid-30s, he was running a transnational operation, coordinating hackers, money mules, and even interfacing with state actors. Abbas specialized in massive beak and cyber heists, laundering over $300 million between 2018 and 2020. A few notable hits were in January 2019, when he laundered $14.7 million from a Maltese bank heist linked to North Korean hackers, moving chunks via Romania and Bulgaria. In May 2019, he attempted a $100 million EPL transfer hack, caught before any money moved. In July 2019, a Qatar school scam tricked a businessman into wiring $1.1 million using fake bank websites and forged documents. The takedown was coordinated with Woodberry's own in Operation Fox Hunt 2 on June 10, 2020. Dubai police raided his Palazzo Versace penthouse, seizing $41 million in cash, 13 luxury cars, and devices mapping out his entire network. Expelled to the U.S., he arrived in Los Angeles in July 2020, facing charges in the Central District of California. The complaint cited money laundering conspiracy, wire fraud, and identity theft. Abbas pleaded guilty in April 2021, admitting to $300 million in fraud and expressing remorse. Sentenced November 8, 2022, to 11 years and 3 months, plus $1.73 million restitution, he's now at a federal prison in California.